got to tell you the truth. Reading that gospel every week gets harder and harder and harder. But I'm going to have my right eye prepared on Tuesday. Hallelujah! And my left eye 2 weeks after that, and perhaps I'll actually be able to read the liturgy on Sunday morning without too much strain. Cataracts, who knew, right? You know, I've been missing my daddy all week long. He passed from this earth just before his 65th birthday, 28 years ago this summer. And you know, it seems like only yesterday. And though I tried to carry him with me, I sure wish we'd had him a little bit longer. My wife likes to remind me that my mama was a blue blood, making me a blue blood as well. In contrast, my father was not a blue blood. His daddy owned a gas station up in Rodessa, Louisiana, during the Depression. And in fact, there's a wonderful story in the family about how upon meeting my father, my grandparents promptly sent my mother off on what they used to call the Grand Tour of Europe. 3 months, hoping that Mama would get over Dad, which of course did not happen, fortunately for us. And they were married in what is now called Holy Cross Episcopal Church in Shreveport in February of 1949. As it turned out, he in fact was a very good man. Kind and faithful and hardworking. And according to my wife, drop dead gorgeous. Y'all, he had black hair and blue eyes, and he looked very much like the young Ricky Nelson. No kidding. A gene not passed on to any of his children. It's a recessive gene, as I understand it. We're all brown and brown, right? No black and blue for us. He was a tank commander in World War II. He commanded the Sherman tank for General Patton. They called them rolling coffins, and his exploded. He was awarded a Bronze Star for valor in the Battle of the Bulge. And the only reason why I know that is because my grandfather told me, and because I have his discharge papers at the house. Dad never spoke of it at all. I mean, not one word. Not one word. And you know, I was just 33 when he died. Barely grown myself at that point, only just beginning to get to know him as a grown-up, you know, man to man, as it were. And I can't even tell you how often over the last 20 years or so, while watching the History Channel or the American Heroes Channel or, you know, Band of Brothers, how often I've wished that Dad and I could have watched that kind of stuff together. See, he died too soon. None of that stuff was on TV back then. Perhaps then I might have had a little insight of what he'd gone through, what he suffered, and what he lost in that terrible war. He's been gone 28 years, and I still miss him terribly. Though, as I mentioned, I try to carry him with me wherever I go. So, happy Father's Day, Dad, and happy Father's Day to all of you whose fathers are perhaps still living or who have perhaps lost your fathers as well. Whew. Moment. Last Sunday I spoke to you about what I call the heart of the gospel. The heart of the gospel. Paul's great declaration in Galatians that he had been crucified with Christ, and thus it was no longer Paul who lived, but rather Christ who lived in and through him. The heart of the gospel in my mind. This morning what we have before us, in my opinion, is the theology that came out of that recognition, out of that realization. It is called the doctrine of justification by grace through faith. And as I mentioned last week, it largely gave birth to the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, and its misuse has been all but the death of Protestantism in our own day. And the operative word is faith. You see, Paul's breakthrough came when he began to understand that we are not and can never be saved by the law. Now, what does that mean? We're not saved. This is tough, y'all, because we don't get this. We really don't. So listen, we are not saved by our good behavior, no matter how good it is. We're not saved because we're moral, no matter how moral we are. Oh, what a good boy am I, right? We're not saved because of what we've accomplished or achieved. And indeed, to the contrary, those things can be and often are stumbling blocks to salvation. No. According to St. Paul, we are and can only be saved through faith by the grace of God. For example, in this morning's passage of Galatians, he says, "For in Christ Jesus you are all children of God through your faith." Simple, right? But there is a rub. The problem is it all depends upon what the word faith means. Now, for Paul, it clearly means trust in, dependence upon, reliance upon, surrender to. We are saved as we actually trust in God. Does that make sense? We're saved as we actually live in dependence of God. We're saved as we actually, in our regular daily lives, rely upon God. The problem is that over time, and it's a long story and I won't go into it, but over time, the meaning of the word faith has changed for Christians. So that today, it no longer means trust in or dependence upon, but rather it means something entirely different. Today, in the Christian church, faith has come to mean assent to or belief in certain ideas, certain principles, the doctrines of the church, the tenets of the creed. So that today, a Christian is no longer defined, believe it or not, by their trust in God, by their reliance upon God, but rather today, you're a Christian only if you believe the right stuff in the right way. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that we shouldn't believe all the right stuff in the right way. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that believing all the right stuff will never save you. Believing all the right stuff will never transform you. You will never be converted by it. It will never make you new. Only trust in God, only surrender to God can do that. The only thing that will ever actually change our lives is to give ourselves over, body and soul, to God through Jesus Christ. Moreover, here's the great irony. As the church has come to understand faith as believing all the right things, we have, unwittingly I hope, put ourselves right smack dab in that same place that Paul's trying to get us out of, right? Which is depending upon the law to save us. Believing all the right stuff, following all the right ritual, and so forth. Now, I know that I'm sometimes prone to exaggeration, hyperbole, but I am absolutely convinced that hitching our wagon to this legalistic star has all but killed the mainline church in this country. I am. Because you see, there's no life there. There's no transformative power there. There's no juice there. And so people got frustrated and they started staying home on Sunday morning. And I don't blame them, because get this, they believed all the right stuff and nothing happened. They believed all the right stuff and they never grew in Christ. They never changed. They never knew peace and joy. And so they just stayed home. We've got to redefine what it means to be a Christian, y'all. It's not about what you believe in, it's about surrendering to God. And so please believe all the right stuff. Do that. But please know that that is not what will save you. Only trust in God can do that. Only dependence upon God can do that. Only reliance upon God through Christ can accomplish that. And as we begin to get that, surrender to God through Christ, as we begin to get that, we can begin to proclaim with Paul, there is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer slave or free. There is no longer male or female. All of us are one in Christ Jesus. There is no black and white. There is no rich and poor. There is no gay and straight. We're all in the family. All of us in the fold. Children of God. All of us. Because of our faith and through the grace of God. Brothers and sisters in Christ.